Welcome to today's episode of Behind the Closed Doors. Today, mostly visiting vintage stores for Nadine and some comic book stores for me. So, that means that we also have time for Q&A. Now, this morning I posted online, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So in this episode, some photography tips and maybe some Q&As from you guys. Enjoy today's episode. Nadine is actually dressed because we missed Queen Day in the Netherlands, which is actually now King Day. Now, what is King Day? It's when children and grown-ups are along the streets selling stuff. We absolutely love that, and because we're now here, we missed that. So she thought, let's put on some orange. Anouk, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, let's go. Okay, we arrived in Brooklyn. We found a parking space at Palmetto Street and we're actually gonna go first through a thrift shop. So. Hey, that was Blessed By. They did have some comics, but mostly very old, and it was a little bit of a mess inside, but that's what we love, because that's where you find treasures. Now that was without a doubt one of the tiniest stores I ever saw. Now maybe not tiny, but the hallway, as you can see in the video before, it's so incredibly tight. We didn't even go through, but they didn't have what we looked for. But I love those kind of places, and this is what you find in places like Brooklyn or New York. You really find these off the beat stores, and not the big ones we have in the Netherlands, like they're all the same but with different gear and different stuff. This is just awesome. This is really cool. Okay, luckily this guy wants to drive a little bit forward, because this is how they're supposed to park over here. Doesn't leave me much space to leave my car. Okay, now we all know that parking can be a problem, right? But this is ridiculous. Luckily over here we can just honk your horn. Oh, one moment. I have to back up. So much fun, not. Okay, the girls are at a vintage store and I couldn't find any parking, so that actually meant that I'm just a little bit behind the vintage store, waiting for them to call me to pick them up, like a limousine driver. Hey, in between I want to answer some Q&As. So one of the questions was, okay Frank, you shot during this trip with Nadine, what do you use? Well, I used the A7R II from Sony with the 24-70 G Master. Absolutely love that combination, razor sharp and great quality of images for dynamic range, of course, in the Sony, but also sharpness and the whole color of the G Master lenses is great. As a strobe, I'm using the Photix Odin on camera because it has a display, so you can very quickly switch between ETTL, do your under and overexposure, switch to manual, and of course use high-speed sync and zoom. The strobes I'm using are the Mitros Plus, also from Photix. And the nice thing about those is they actually have the receiver inside, so you don't need extra receivers. That saves you a lot of trouble on location and of course batteries. Now, what did I shoot, manual or ETTL? It depends. I'm really a manual kind of guy because I think then you have total control and continuity. But in these cases, it's mostly run and gun. Now, not because it's illegal where we shoot, but because a lot of people walk there, they actually stop to wait until you take your shot, so you don't want to take too long. And the cool thing about shooting ETTL is that on the Odin, I can very quickly change my under and overexposure for my ETTL and get the result I want. And of course, thanks to the Sony, you have the EVF, so as soon as I take a picture, I can actually immediately see the results. When do I switch to manual? Very simple. If I want to fight the sun and I want to use extreme side lighting, that's when I switch over to manual, because ETTL will try to do everything to 18% gray. Now, when you do everything to 18% gray, it can very quickly become overexposed on the face if the rest of the image is pretty dark. So I constantly switch between manual and ETTL. The cool thing about the Sony again is the EVF, so as soon as you take a picture, you immediately see what you get. And by the way, you already heard the message, I have to pick up the ladies. We got another question in. Why don't you soften the light? You use a lot of hard lighting. You can also turn it around. Why not make your light harder if you use softer light? It's a personal choice. For me personally, I love the shadows and I like the crispness in the images. So as soon as you start using the more harder light quality, you get more popping colors. Everything just looks a little bit more crisp, and that's something that I really like. And of course, it's also a matter of what you can bring. So a flash bender I can very easily bring, like a small softbox I can easily bring. But if you really want to soften up those small flashes, you really need bigger softboxes. And to travel with those, setting them up, or you just draw a lot of attention to yourself. While with the harder quality of light, you can do it really fast, get out of there as soon as we got the shot. Of course, that's not an excuse. I just love the harder quality of light, so that's why we don't even have big softboxes for our small strobes. We do have a Lustolite, by the way, the switch box, which I highly recommend, but I use those both on my Quadra and on the small flash. So I hope that answered your questions. It's pure personal taste. I just love the hard quality of light. Time for another question, and the question is actually, if shooting outside, no flash, and for some reason you have to choose between under or overexposed, what is the best choice? If I look at different tutorials, some say over and others say underexposed. What's your opinion? You know, it really depends on the look that I want. If I want my model to pop out, I have to make sure that her face is correctly lit. So I would actually choose to slightly maybe overexpose it a little bit. And with nowadays, the sensors are so incredibly dynamic that even if you're 1 or 2 stops away, you can still pull down those highlights. Now, the thing that I don't like that much in images, because if you pull the pixels, noise will appear if the images are underexposed on a higher ISO. But in most cases, you know, you have so much dynamic range. Just go for the look that you want. If you want a slightly more dramatic shot, maybe underexpose a little bit. If you want a slightly more pastel-like backgrounds, shoot on a wider aperture and just overexpose a little bit. On the other hand, there's maybe one rule that you have to follow. The face of the model, that's the most eye-catching part of your image. So always make sure you expose for the face of the model. If the model's face is properly exposed, you can very easily in Photoshop, Lightroom or Capture One just pull up the exposure or just pull down the exposure. Now I know where you're going. Of course, in the past there was a lot of talk about expose to the right. In other words, expose towards the highlights, and then you keep your detail in the blacks if you pull it back and you don't have any noise. Again, as mentioned before, with modern day sensors, you have almost noise-free operation up until, let's say, ISO 3200, 6400. So the whole expose to the right or expose to the left, just go with what you like. So I don't really have an opinion on this. It really depends on the look what I want, and then I will actually set my exposure. Okay, that was really my kind of store. Great guy behind the counter, the owner. And loads of great back issues, only $1. And if you buy 2, you get 1 free. And you know, we're Dutch, we love that kind of deals. So we bought way too many and highly recommend this store. Go and check them out online. I will leave the link below. Okay, soon a second chance for our food, because the moment we got there somebody else took our food, so it was gone. So let's see when they create something new. Okay, now this is what happens when you drive like, well, I don't want to say maniacs, but it comes pretty close, right? It's a miracle you don't see more cars that hit each other. The traffic here is insane, but doable. You just close your eyes and you just go. Everybody else does it, I guess. This is literally unbelievable. It's like playing Tetris with cars. There is no system. There is no courtesy. There is a lot of time. That's the only thing. It will take you a lot of time. We're now in the middle of Manhattan. And if you don't hear from us within a week, please call my mom and tell her I love her, because we could be stuck here for a while. And for now, we'll just continue straight on, take our turns, and don't look left or right or back. Just pray that everything goes okay, but it's weird. Now, maybe even weirder than playing Tetris with cars is the American tradition, or the New York tradition, of honking your horn. Now, do you hear that? Now imagine this. So look in front of you, and we turn the camera. Okay, so there is nowhere to go. Absolutely nowhere. You can't go under, you can't go up. There's nowhere to go. And still people are honking their horn. I don't know, maybe we can go up with propellers? We get new experience every second in New York. Awesome.
Of gaat ze op je... Zit de deur op slot?
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Guys, that was the episode for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and tomorrow we're gonna go to a very, very large flea market, the biggest in the area. It's about a 1 hour and 45-minute drive. So yeah, when we drive that long, well, over here that's actually not that long, but if we drive that long, it better should be worth it. And when we looked online, it looks absolutely awesome. So you wanna see what I bought at the $1 bins? Got a lot of those. And in all honesty, for $1, so for $1 and the second one free, I couldn't resist. So, and a week had to drag me away, otherwise I would have bought everything. Hey guys, I see you tomorrow for another episode of Behind the Closed Doors. If you like what we do, you know the drill. Subscribe, like, share, and whatever you can to help us grow our channel and community. Hey guys, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.